That year when Sophia discovered she had cancer, I had just graduated. Rummaging through my coat pockets, I found only a measly 500 yuan. To save her, I begged everyone in my contacts list, scraping together 200,000 yuan. But on the way back to the hospital with that money, I received the shocking news that she had passed away. I didn't make it in time to see Sophia one last time. For the next 5 years, the debt remained unpaid. I headed south alone to work. On the final day of paying off the debt, I returned to Ocean City, but at a hot pot restaurant, a place Sophia and I used to visit when she was alive. I met a woman who looked exactly like her. By now, she had a successful career. Beside her was a man and a child. At a glance, she seemed to have a happy family. Winter in Ocean City was still a bit chilly. I held only 60 yuan in my pocket. Bought a group hot pot deal for 599 yuan. Eating quietly. Beside me, a familiar voice caught my attention. Behind a frosted glass partition, a woman in a windbreaker was gently serving food to the boy in front of her. At first, I didn't think much of it, until I noticed the mole at the corner of her eye, and a face that grew more familiar the longer I looked. I suddenly stood up, a bit flustered, staring at the woman. "Sophia, is that you?" Amid the noisy chatter, she seemed to hear someone call her name. She looked up, meeting my gaze. A complex emotion flickered in her eyes, from surprise to shock, then turning cold with a hint of redness. "Lucas, it's been a while." I awkwardly sat across from her and the boy, but Sophia quickly regained her composure, continuing to serve meat from the hot pot to the child. "Want some vinegar with that?" She glanced at my sesame dipping sauce, breaking the silence. Her tone was calm, as if speaking to a stranger. I like sour flavors. Back then, when eating hot pot with Sophia, she always made a plate of vinegar for me. But over the years, if eaten so much, I no longer taste the flavors. I shook my head. My fingers tightly gripped the edge of the tablecloth, not knowing how to start the conversation. "Back then, were you really okay?" My mind raced with 1,000 ways to phrase it, finally settling on the gentlest question. Sophia clearly knew what I was asking, but she only paused, her hand nodding slightly, as if responding to a trivial matter, not even worth comparing to life and death. 5 years ago, when I was on a distant street in capital city, I immediately transferred money to Sophia's account. But on my rushed journey back to Ocean City, I got news that she had died suddenly from liver failure. That night, the temperature dropped to -17 degrees. Wearing a thin jacket, I stood outside the train station, so cold I nearly lost sensation. But I still couldn't believe it. Only 3 days had passed, and Sophia was gone. The news of her death came from Aunt Clara, who never liked me. My voice broke over the phone, begging her to tell me where the funeral was. But she hung up abruptly. When Sophia was alive, Aunt Clara despised me, a boy from a rural background. After her death, the Clara family wouldn't let me near them. "So why did you all lie to me?" My eyes reddened, unable to hold back the question. Sophia suppressed her emotions, lips pursed tightly, silent throughout, until a phone ring broke the deadlock between us. On the phone screen, the first contact was still Sophia. For 5 years, that account hadn't been updated once, but I day and night kept sending messages to that account. Even something as trivial as the hot pot deal just now, I'd snap a photo and send it. Over time, it became my diary. The years of paying off debt, the injustices big and small I faced, the moments of hardship were all written there. Sophia seemed to glimpse the content on my screen. She gave a cold, mocking laugh. Her gaze looked at me as if I were despicable. "Lucas, I can't forget, nor can I forgive you." "What do you mean, can't forget?" "The day I was rushed to the emergency room, you ran away." I choked, my throat tightening. "What do you mean? When did I run away?" "That year when I got the news of Sophia's death. In a panic, I hired a black car to race back to Ocean City. A train would have taken 3 days. I couldn't wait that long. Who knew that year the snow fell too heavily? Highways and railways were all blocked. When I finally reached the hospital in Ocean City, a new flu outbreak had erupted. The hospital was in chaos. The lead doctor and nurses, most had been reassigned elsewhere. I didn't get to see her one last time. nor could I attend the funeral. I was lost, broken for a long time, until I was nearly crushed by mental illness. Messages demanding repayment from Jasper arrived. He was my sworn enemy from high school, but the only one willing to lend me money back then. That day, I crawled out of bed, with only one thought: pay off this money, even if it was just finishing the last thing for Sophia. I didn't run away, Sophia. I went to Capital City to borrow money to save you. Check January 7th that year. The money in your bank account was from me. Tears streamed down my face, my voice choked. The bitterness couldn't be shaken off. Those years out there, I'd long forgotten how to cry. But somehow, looking at this face, I remembered Sophia being wheeled into the emergency room. She reached out to touch my cheek, comforting me with her gentle voice. She said, "Lucas, it'll be fine, take care of yourself. If I don't make it, forget me, start a new life." Back then, I gripped the bed rail tightly, shaking my head frantically, begging her not to leave me. Because in this world besides Sophia, no one else was kind to me. Since childhood, my parents divorced. No one cared about me. For years of university, I couldn't even afford tuition. It was Sophia who shared half her scholarship and her part-time earnings so I could graduate properly. At that time, she was like the only light on an endless sea. In my loss of control, I gripped Sophia's hand tightly. Just like back then, my whole being sank into bottomless despair, until a young voice snapped me back. It was the boy. He looked at me with big dark eyes, his voice naive and innocent, but his words chilled me to the bone. "Uncle, why are you lying? That money was clearly borrowed by my dad." As soon as he spoke, Sophia, whose eyes were red, instantly regained her composure. She pulled her hand from mine, looking at me coldly. "Lucas, please have some self-respect. Over the years, I'd thought, faced with a partner with a terminal illness, perhaps any rational person would run. But Lucas, I never expected you to save me with money. Just staying by my side until the end would have been enough. But the next day you disappeared. Now I'm living well. Let's not bother each other anymore." After speaking, Sophia took a deep breath, dropped the last slice of beef into the hot pot. Back then, it was her favorite, but she always let me eat first. I lowered my head, stirring my dipping sauce, smiling as if a weight had been lifted. It's been so long. It's time to start a new life. But before that, the events of that year can't remain unclear. I wiped my tears, slowly leaned forward. Smiling, I asked the boy, "Little one, what's your dad's name?" The boy was a bit wary. Tilting his head, he tugged at Sophia's hand, but still whispered two words, "Simon Clare." "Is that so?" I sat back in my chair. Everything became clear. Simon Clare, Sophia's non-blood-related younger brother. Back in university, when Sophia and I were dating, he was always hostile toward me. Even and Clara's dislike for me was largely due to his instigation behind my back. The schemes between women might fool men, but a man's hostility I'd seen through long ago. His feelings for Sophia were not those of a brother for a sister. That money back then was transferred from Golden City Bank to Sophia's account. The sender was a stranger's name, indeed easy for someone else to claim falsely. "Sophia, if you say that money came from Simon, can he produce the transfer receipt?" Sophia's eyes froze at my words. Her initial certainty wavered slightly, but Simon, who was there, didn't speak. His voice dripped with mockery. "He couldn't produce it. And you, the one who ran away, can you speak politely? If you're still short on money like back then, go ahead and use that fake sincerity to trick another girl into supporting you. You're acting fooled." Even Sophia. I trembled, setting my chopsticks down, finally letting out a bitter laugh. But my heart felt like a torn rag, pierced with endless pain. I spent 5 years trampling my pride to gather that life-saving money, only for it to be in vain. And in her eyes, I became a liar, a man with no moral boundaries. "I can produce it." I took a deep breath. My voice trembled but firm. "Sophia, those events are long past. I won't cling to you anymore. But I can't stand someone else taking credit for what I did." That meeting ended unhappily. Sophia got a phone call, then left with Simon and the child. The ring on her ring finger glimmered under the light. I didn't dare ask, "Are you married?" I only quietly removed the silver ring under the table, hiding it in my sleeve. It was the ring Sophia bought 8 years ago with half a year's tutoring money. I'd worn it all these years. The band had oxidized, turning black. I finished the last fish ball in my hot pot, paid, and left the restaurant. I thought maybe I won't come back here again. Outside the restaurant, I called Jasper. Since paying off the debt a month ago, we hadn't spoken. That year, Sophia suddenly suffered liver and kidney failure from medication side effects. Her body turned severely jaundiced. Rushed to the emergency room. I stood outside the window keeping vigil all night. I asked everyone in my contacts to borrow money, but in the end I only got 200 yuan, though I'd expected it. I had no friends or family, but in desperation, I still held a sliver of hope and contacted Jasper, the spoiled rich girl, my high school nemesis. Jasper said 200,000 yuan fine. Her voice on the phone still carried that arrogant, carefree tone from before. But you have to come to capital city. Back in high school, we clashed over a competition slot. No one in school dared cross this rich girl. I took a deep breath trying to stay calm, recalling those days when everything seemed to collapse. But I had to keep living. My parents didn't care about me. I had no attachments. I feared nothing. Back then, I recklessly fought her. The faint scar under her collarbone was from me. In the end, I was disciplined, nearly expelled. Well, she came out unscathed. I was stunned. When I reached the private room at the address she gave, Jasper was sitting in the corner surrounded by people. Borrowing money is fine, but you have to kneel before me. She looked at me with amusement, her demeanor haughty, her tone cold. She once said, "Lucas, you're the most stubborn person I've ever met, and the only one who dared stand up to me." How interesting. Back then, I didn't understand her. I just thought rich people had warped minds, getting beaten and still calling it interesting. But this time she made me kneel before a crowd, clearly wanting to crush my pride. I had no other choice. Amid the mocking laughter around me, I knelt straight on the floor. I don't remember much about that day. The coldness of the floor when my knees hit it. Only the noise. Jasper coldly signaled for the others to stop. Her demeanor, like Shed rediscovered a favorite toy, but one with broken arms and missing legs. She told me to look up, casually spitting her gum near my feet. Is it worth it for a woman? Back then I answered without hesitation that it was. But now, the answer would only be no. Someone like me. She scoffed, annoyed, then made a phone call, asking for my account details. The 200,000 yuan would be transferred today. I'll pay it back. I trembled, clutching my pant leg, but her gaze grew darker. Jasper, do you still have the receipt from that transfer 5 years ago? About half an hour later, she texted back. Checked, I have it all. What do I need? No need to check, I hesitated a moment, then told her the truth. Sophia didn't die. That money was claimed by someone else. I need proof. The other end was silent for a while, then replied, turns out there are such scumbags. I'm in Ocean City. I'll let you know after checking. Come meet me. Jasper was highly efficient. The next afternoon, she met me at Ocean City's fanciest restaurant. In the crowd, she still had that air of being surrounded, but this time it was a formal occasion. Sitting at the far end of a round table, holding a wine glass, chatting with a few people, preparing to open an investment firm in Ocean City. You'll be staying here long term. Hope for your support. I stood outside the door dazed, watching the pride in her brow. My steps unconsciously retreated. For some reason, a twinge of envy stirred in me. Until the guests left, I walked in. Beside a table full of leftover food, she glanced at me, pulled a receipt from her bag. The date was January 7th, 5 years ago. A transfer of 200,000 yuan to Sophia's account. The electronic version. You'll have my assistant send it to you later. Thank you, holding the receipt. I turned to leave. Wait. Jasper called me back. Her eyes narrowed, looking at me. Just leaving like that? No gesture of thanks. How do you want me to thank you? I stopped, asking calmly. She lowered her head, as if thinking seriously for a few seconds. How about this? Come work at my family's investment firm. The company's just starting. We need someone like you. I was awkward, my fingers slipping into my sleeve. Jasper, you've got the wrong person. I have no experience. She raised an eyebrow. I remember. Someone topped the finance major at Ocean City University, and Ocean City's finance program is top 3 nationwide. When Jasper said this, her tone was calm, even carrying a rare hint of recognition. But my heart sank a little. Back in university, with Sophia's encouragement, I poured my heart into studying, joined international competitions, planned to pursue a master's, then intern at an investment bank. Completely changed my life. But her sudden illness and death shattered all my plans. To pay off the debt, I didn't continue my master's. And because finance demands high qualifications, at least a master's degree, even topping my major, I couldn't find a fitting role. After much thought, I could only seize opportunities in the booming e-commerce industry. By now, I'd strayed too far from my path. Jasper, why are you helping me like this? She smirked. You're mistaken. I'm not helping you. You work, I pay. It's fair. Her words sounded righteous, but I knew with her resources in the job market, she could easily find someone more qualified than me, far more valuable. It's just, I didn't want to get too involved with Jasper. Her help I appreciated, but I couldn't forget that year. How she looked down on me as I sorted documents. No need, I won't starve elsewhere. I lowered my head, gripping my hand tightly, the receipt in my pocket, ready to leave. Lucas, how long will you cling to that cheap pride? Jasper suddenly raised her voice, her tone full of anger. Look at yourself now. Not even 10 UN to your name. You still want to turn things around. Her words stabbed my heart. Turn things around, that phrase. So foreign, I repeated it in my mind, feeling it was a luxury. For a moment, my eyes reddened. I shouted back, Jasper, you a spoiled rich girl. What do you know? My life's become a muddy pit. Topping Ocean City's finance program, so what? I'm nearly 30. Like you said. So pathetic. I paid off my debt, but can't afford next month's rent. Every step these past years has been laughable. Isn't it, to survive those years? Staying up late working, getting stomach ulcers, to chase commissions, bullied by bosses with harsh words, returning daily to a 10 square meter rental, eating discounted supermarket boxed meals. Those petty humiliations once again drowned the last of my pride. Jasper was stunned. Half a minute later, her brows relaxed. Her sharp gaze softened a bit, but still carried that lofty air. Fine. Lucas, you want to live and die on your own. I won't stop you. She turned away, no longer looking at me. A mocking smile curled her lips as she brushed back her long hair, revealing the faint scar under her collarbone from our fight years ago. I left it by accident. After that, I was disciplined by the school. Lost my guaranteed spot at Ocean City. But back then, I didn't care. I believed if I took the college entrance exam, I'd definitely get into Ocean City. In the end, one topped the school, entered the hottest finance program that year. But now, that scar after 10 years stood out starkly, as if mocking my current cowardice. Until I recalled the old me, proud, fearless of heaven and earth, as if standing before me, scolding my cowardice, my uselessness, blaming myself, glaring, asking what I was afraid of. Yes, what was I afraid of? Could things get worse than before? The answer was no. Finally, I clenched my fist, telling Jasper, Ilgo, I want to turn things around. Jasper's demands were high, told me to review theoretical knowledge, grasp the current market, study real-world cases. During the initial probation, she paid me a fresh graduate salary. To climb up, you'll have to rely on yourself. She glanced at my resume, leaving those words. That night, I was up late reading. My phone suddenly buzzed twice. Sophia's dormant account. Sent a message at 4 a.m., then retracted it. I was a bit surprised, scrolling through my phone. Why did she log into this account on purpose? But it was fine. I'd gotten the transfer receipt. Was worrying how to contact her. This solved it just in time. I sent the electronic receipt to Sophia, but there was no reply. The next morning, I sent another message, more carefully worded, just mentioning the receipt. If convenient, let's meet at noon tomorrow. This time she replied instantly, okay. Sophia set the meeting at a Western restaurant in the city. I rushed from the office nearly late. The restaurant was elegantly decorated. A man in a tuxedo played the piano in the middle. I pushed the door open, scanning for Sophia. When I looked up, I saw by the window a man and woman sitting together. The woman in an apricot dress, hair lightly pinned, was Sophia. Beside her was a man in a sharp suit. Simon. What was he doing here? I took a deep breath, calming myself. My expression neutral, I sat across from them. I thought sending the receipt would clear things up. I didn't expect Sophia's gratitude, just didn't want things to stay as they were. Her looking at me with hatred. I unzipped my bag, placing my phone on the table. Sophia, I said, I had proof. Now you've seen it, right? As I spoke, Sophia's brow showed confusion. Before she could speak, a waiter nearby suddenly stepped forward. Beside this spot was a decorative stream-like trench, filled with water. The young waiter meant to pour tea for me, but while holding the kettle, his arm accidentally knocked my phone off. It fell right into the water. I quickly bent to retrieve it. The phone was soaked. Pressing the power button several times, no response. This phone was 4 or 5 years old, already prone to glitches. This fall, I didn't know if it could be fixed. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Sir, should I take it to the front desk to dry? The waiter's face flushed, his voice tense. I was annoyed, shaking my head. No need. I'll check it later. After the brief interruption, I sat up straight, ignoring their expressions, pulled the paper receipt from my bag, handed it to Sophia. Here. This is the transfer receipt from Golden City Bank back then. Check it, you'll know it's real. Sophia lowered her head to look, her expression behind her glasses unclear. At this moment, Simon leaned over, glanced at the receipt. A flicker of confusion passed through his eyes, but he said nothing. I waited for their reaction, but the air fell silent. His lips curled into a sneer. Lucas, you're still the same, full of pretense. Your receipt, how is it exactly like mine? Who did you steal it from? Exactly like his. I froze, not understanding. This receipt was from Jasper. How could she have it? Besides, even in Sophia's transaction history, the payer's name was listed, but not the full account number. The receipt had the complete account number. For Simon to forge it would be too strange. What do you mean? My heart grew uneasy. I pressed him. Suddenly, in Simon's cryptic smile, I recalled that late night. After sending the receipt, Sophia didn't reply for a long time, only agreeing to meet the next day. Could that clumsy midnight message not have been from Sophia? Simon, he saw the electronic receipt I sent, then forged an identical one, and arranged today's meeting. Anything else to say, Lucas? Sophia gripped my paper receipt tightly, her eyes full of disappointment and resentment ready to spill over. I gave a bitter laugh. After all these years, Simon was still a filthy rat, never leaving me in peace. I looked up at Sophia. These past few days, did you log into your old account? Sophia frowned. Then her eyes flashed with a hint of reluctance. She must have seen the tens of thousands of messages, chronicling my pain over the years. Even I didn't dare reread them. The bitterness rising in my heart. I suppressed it. You logged in, right? Yes, she nodded, showing me the account interface. Though skeptical, Sophia complied. I glanced over. Sure enough, the electronic receipt I sent wasn't there. That message was indeed deleted by Simon. I meant to pull out my phone, using the chat history as proof, then remembered it fell in the water, unusable. I sighed. Simon had prepared thoroughly. Even the waiter was his doing, wasn't it? I came this time just to prove I didn't run. The 200,000 yuan was borrowed by me. Sophia helped me for years. If she was deceived back then, I'd clarify, and I didn't want to linger. But seeing Simon's smug look now, a surge of resentment rose in my chest. Sophia, are you two married? I suddenly changed the topic, my eyes fixed on the matching rings on their hands, asking bluntly, no reservations. Sophia was silent, saying nothing. Simon smugly put his arm around her. Not yet, but we're engaged. Lucas, I lowered my head. The corner of my mouth twitched. At the age when I craved love most, Sophia told me countless times, Lucas, I can't imagine marrying anyone but you. Those loving memories flashed through my mind, only to be torn apart. Good, I looked up at Sophia. Sophia, one last question. Is it because he gave you 200,000 yuan that you're with him? My voice was hoarse, but I still wanted clarity. This was the only love of my life. I thought I hadn't misjudged her and was willing to pay the price for this obsession, but in the end, it seemed only I was deluded. Sophia looked at me coldly, hands clasped tightly. The watch on her wrist was a luxury we never dared dream of. Simon saved my life. I'd die for him if needed, let alone marry him. Hearing this, I finally exhaled in relief, pulled a bank card from my bag. This is the card that transferred 200,000 yuan to you back then. It belongs to Jasper's sister Jessica, unused for years. This time sent from Golden City Bank. Sophia, Simon keeps saying that money was borrowed by his friend. So why is this card in my hand? As I spoke, Sophia's calm demeanor shattered. She saw the number on the card, matching the receipt exactly. This was ironclad proof. No one could deny it. Simon suddenly stood up, reaching to grab the card. Lucas, give it here. I quickly tucked the card back in my bag. No need to grab, Simon. No matter how you change or deceive, it's useless. I have the receipt and the bank card. I can even call the person who made the transfer. Stop acting. It's disgusting. Simon completely lost control. Eyes red, he grabbed Sophia's hand, begging Sophia he stole it. This card Lucas stole from me. Don't believe him. My friend gave me the card back then. I forgot to take it out. When we talked about this a few days ago, I looked, but couldn't find it. He must have stolen it. Sophia's eyes wavered endlessly. She tried to stay calm, but her eyes were red with anger. She shouted at this point, "You still think him a fool? If you had proof, you'd have shown it years ago, not waited 5 years with nothing. I always saw you as a brother, though not blood-related. We're family. I believed you and Aunt Clara wouldn't lie to me, but I never expected at this point." Sophia looked at me in pain, her chest heaving violently. Tears fell like broken pearls. She trembled, reaching to pull me, but I stepped back, avoiding her. "Lucas, I never imagined waking up in the hospital bed. And Clara and he said you'd run away. Said you heard I was gravely ill and left without looking back. I waited 3 days in the IQ. You didn't come, I believe them. They said the life-saving money was borrowed by Simon through a friend in Golden City. That's how I survived. Sorry I didn't choose to believe you then. Didn't wait longer. Sorry. Your messages, I read them over and over. Each time I couldn't breathe. Sorry, I never forgot you." Sophia stood before me, eyes red, unable to speak a full sentence, repeating, begging me to believe. She had her reasons. That all these years she still remembered me, but I stood coldly aside watching. "Sophia, you couldn't wait 3 days. But that 200,000 yuan I spent 5 years paying back. Isn't that laughable?" I glanced at the engagement ring on her hand. "You're engaged. Don't say these things anymore. I hope we never meet again." Sophia shook her head in pain, wanting to step forward and say more, but I didn't want to hear it. Grabbing my phone, I turned and left. 2 in the afternoon. Jasper said there was an important meeting. I couldn't miss it. Leaving the restaurant, my heart still trembled. I hadn't planned to borrow this card. Thought the receipt was enough. But Sophia's reaction that midnight was too strange. I didn't want to be falsely accused anymore. So I asked Jasper to lend me the card first. That afternoon's meeting, I was a bit distracted. The morning's shock was too much. I couldn't snap into focus. Jasper noticed, giving me displeased looks. I slowly adjusted, catching up with the meeting. 3 hours later it ended. Jasper quickly walked behind me, calling, "Lucas, the company's taking a major collaboration project soon. I plan to include you, but in your current state, you'd probably just mess things up." I turned immediately, apologizing. "I was distracted earlier, my fault. Please let me join. I won't do it again." My voice was firm. I needed this chance. Reviewing my expertise, I realized I still wanted to grow in this field. Couldn't miss this opportunity. Jasper's brow softened a bit, perhaps seeing my usual seriousness. She relented. "No, next time. After work. I went to the phone shop to retrieve my water-damaged phone. On the way, I prayed it'd last until I got a permanent position. Once permanent, I could buy a new one. At the counter, seeing the phone boot up normally, I was overjoyed. But the next second, a message popped up. Sophia had transferred to million yuan. My heart sank. Before I could react, another message came from Sophia. A long message, mostly apologies, recalling the past, and words of atonement. The wind outside was strong. I wrapped my scarf tightly, headed to the familiar noodle shop. The owner greeted warmly. Little Lucas here. Still want clear broth noodles? I nodded, then added, wait. Mom added chicken drumstick today. Sure thing. The collaboration project started in half a month. Jasper finally let me join. The prep work was tedious. My first time in practice. There were many things I didn't understand. Often staying late. That day, little Leo working late with me suddenly sighed. Brother Lucas heard the news. Our department's getting a new leader tomorrow. Young, they say, but stricter than the older bosses at their last company. I think our good days are over. I rubbed my dry eyes, drank the last sip of soup, casually said, it's not like we're living good days now. Same difference. Little Leo nodded, saying no more. But the next day, seeing the new leader, I truly felt the good days were gone. Sophia, in a tailored suit, stood before a big screen introducing herself, starting the department's first meeting. Her eyes scanned the room, not surprisingly landing on me. I glanced at her. She quickly looked away. The meeting covered nothing major. I sat below, reassuring myself for a long time, finally accepting her presence. After all, our story ended long ago. Consider it the price of the job. I kept listening. I just arrived. Let's have a department dinner tonight, Sophia suggested from the front. Her voice carried excitement. Everyone's coming, right? Don't make me lose face on my first day. Her eyes cautiously flicked toward me. I kept a blank face, raising my hand to apologize. I have something tonight, excuse me. Can I ask what it is? Sophia's expression showed disappointment, but she asked softly, my dog's sick. I need to take it to the vet. I made up an excuse. Oh. At that moment, a figure appeared behind me. Turning, it was Jasper standing there unnoticed. Lucas, which vet? I'll have my assistant head there. Manager Sophia just arrived. Don't make her lose face. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Her tone left no room for refusal. I'm free, I'll join you all. President Jasper, she made a toasting gesture. I swallowed my words. This time I had to go. Jasper knew about me and Sophia, but Sophia didn't know my connection with Jasper. I had no idea what she was planning. Because of this unease, during the meal I ate without tasting. Even my favorite grilled meat. I only had a few bites. Watching the beef sizzle on the plate, hearing colleagues flatter Sophia, my heart mixed with emotions. Sophia was outstanding since university. After recovering, thriving in business for years, outshining others was expected. Jasper sat beside me, her face always with a faint smile, occasionally stepping out for calls, barely eating at the table. 2 hours later, the meal finally ended. Our group headed to the underground parking lot, everyone going their own way. I finally breathed a sigh of relief, but looking up, a man was waiting at the parking lot entrance. It was Simon. Seeing us approach, without a word, he locked eyes with me in the crowd, strode forward, raising a fist to swing. Jasper instantly pulled me back, eyes blazing, shouting, "Who are you?" Simon roared. Hawkins roared back, still charging forward, "You care who I am? Today I'm dealing with this liar." The crowd stepped back a few paces. Sophia's face was cold, stepping forward. "Sorry, this is my brother." Simon froze at the word brother, turning in disbelief. "Sophia, what do you mean? I'm clearly your fiancé." He raised his hand, showing off the ring to the crowd. "Look, everyone, I'm really her fiancé." I lowered my eyes, looking at Sophia's hand. The engagement ring was gone, replaced by a simple silver ring. I smiled faintly to myself. That ring, she hadn't thrown it away. But a few days ago, I tossed my old silver ring. "Sophia, did you switch jobs to this company because of him?" Simon grew more agitated. "Why are you still so stubborn about Lucas? We have Anthony. We're engaged. Why won't you choose me? The parking lot echoed with his frantic shouts. He panted painfully, tugging his hair. Colleagues nearby retreated further. Jasper called out loudly, "If you two want to settle personal matters, Lucas and I are leaving." She crossed her arms, her voice full of impatience, then looked at me coming. I nodded, quickly following her, ignoring the shouts and chaos behind. Reaching the car, I remembered Bachem and Thine. So that child was really theirs. Though I'd suspected, it still surprised me. Sophia and I dated for years. She helped me through university, but it stopped at kisses. She said no intimacy before marriage. We had to be responsible for our future. Back then, I thought her conservative, the one I'd marry for life. But I never imagined she'd have a child with Simon. Which vet? It'll take you. Jasper stood by a black car asking, "No need, I don't have a dog." I told the truth. She glanced at me, didn't press further. "Then it'll take you home." "Thanks, boss." My voice carried a teasing tone. Jasper noticed. Her brows showed annoyance. Halfway home, she stopped by the river, opening the window. "You still resent me, don't you?" I looked at her, not hiding it. "You knew about me and her, yet forced me to that dinner. It's company business, I don't control it. Couldn't I skip that meal?" Jasper gave a faint smile. Didn't answer, just looked out the window. "Lucas, do you think a drunk person can do that? Isn't that how it's shown in dramas? That's fiction." She turned back, her eyes serious. "You still don't get it. In reality, a drunk man, that part doesn't work." I narrowed my eyes. "What do you mean? You're saying Sophia lied? It wasn't just once with them." Jasper looked at me. "Is that the only possibility?" I was silent for a moment, thinking along her lines. Could Anthony not be Sophia's child? That's a cliché drama plot. But now my back felt cold. I recalled meeting Anthony that day. His brows did resemble Sophia's somewhat, but Anthony and Sophia looked very alike. It must be I didn't finish. A memory flashed in my mind. 5 years ago, I helped Sophia with the Claire family, handling hospital paperwork, then ate lunch at a quiet rest stop near the building. In the distance, two people emerged, and Clara and Simon. And Clara smiled. Simon lowered his head, lost in thought. Back then, I thought it normal. Didn't dwell on it, but now the clues connected. A terrifying thought formed. Jasper seemed to guess my thoughts. Tossed her coffee cup down. Looked at me wearily. "Lucas, you must have an answer in your heart." I nodded heavily. Jasper sat up straight, pulled some photos from the car's compartment, handed them to me. "It's Simon, going in and out of a hotel with Aunt Clara. Simon's the adopted son of the Claire family. Their relationship, we just don't know how long it's been. But it'll stop here. What you do with this is your choice. If you want, I can help." I suppressed my emotions, my voice trembling. "Jasper, why? Be it my career or personal matters. Do you keep helping me?" She didn't look at me, restarting the car, a cold smile on her lips. "You beat me once. If bullied you enough, you have no grudge with the Claire family. Why did they treat you like this?" As she spoke, the veins on her hand gripping the wheel faintly showed. "After that night, Simon added me as a friend. Didn't say much, but a few days later, he posted a lot on social media. Photos of him checking in at a fancy golf course, photos of him at events, and photos with Sophia. I knew he was flaunting to me. After Sophia found out, she must grown colder toward him, so he blocked me again, added me back, wanting me to back off. Thanks to his posts, I learned, over the years, as Sophia's fiancé and a good father, had gained some fame online, with tens of thousands of followers. But digging deeper, his arrogance and aggression often sparked conflicts with similar bloggers. I sat at my computer, holding the photos, deliberating, then clicked on the page of the blogger he clashed with most, Mama of Little Han. This blogger had a strong personality, before because of Simon, insulting her chubby son in comments. They had a huge fight. At first, Mama of Little Han was wary of my contact, but that night, Simon subtly insulted her again in comments. She couldn't take it, bought the photos from me at a high price, and helped me earn a sum. The next afternoon during rush hour, I squeezed through the crowd to the noodle shop, saw breaking news about Simon. The first headline was Simon's affair, since people thought Aunt Clara was his elder, unaware of their true relationship. But as netizens dug deeper, they found Aunt Clara was Sophia's mother. Simon was the Clare family's adopted son, legally mother and son. More unethical details emerged. The story's heat skyrocketed. When I finished overtime taking the last subway home, Simon's situation grew worse. He posted a defense in the adopted son of the Clare family. No blood relation to Sophia. Anthony is my Aunt Sophia's child. Nothing to do with Aunt Clara. His defense was simple, insisting the child was his and Sophia's. But netizens didn't buy it. Talk is cheap. Show us the DNA test. Think we're easy to fool. If it's really your and Sophia's child, you have done a hospital test long ago. If disliked him for ages. He insulted little Han before. Now he's crashed. Amid the storm of curses and doubts, Simon stopped responding, likely trying to cool things down. He disabled comments. The heat did drop a bit, but the next morning someone pushed it up. The news heated up again, reported en masse. His account was banned. Mama of little Han messaged me a lot, thanking me for the photos, saying she gained tons of support and tens of thousands of followers. Even sent me 100,000 yuan as thanks. I didn't refuse. Selling the photos was mutually beneficial. That night, finishing documents, showering ready for bed, I got a call. It was Sophia. The other end was silent for a long time, only intermittent breathing. Something wrong, speak or I'll hang up. Wait. Her weak voice came through. Lucas, can we talk? Lucas, her voice was hoarse, slightly drunk. Do you hate me? Hate that I didn't believe you back then. Yes, her voice grew more choked. Sorry, the words spilled through the phone. Amid the noisy sound, I couldn't hear the rest clearly. The past 3 months. What happened that winter 5 years ago? I gradually forgot. Immersed in work, as if it pulled me entirely from that nightmare. Serious illness, death, deceptions, lies. Scenes I didn't want to recall, and the ugliness all left my life. In their place was the image of myself in my memories. Lucas, I'll make it up to you. Those words suddenly rang through the phone, then a beep as it disconnected. I was a bit confused, not understanding what she meant by making it up, until the next day. On Sophia's social media, I saw her post DNA test reports. One for Anthony and Sophia, one for Anthony and Aunt Clara. The results showed Anthony was related to Aunt Clara, not Sophia. It sparked a massive uproar. Simon's defense was shattered as a lie. The heat and speculation from days before turned into curses against him. The self-exposure made many who clashed with Simon online stand up. He's not just messed up with Aunt Clara. His relationship with his company's CEO is shady to right. Before he and I fought, because he stole my event slot. This guy's always been vile. Also, in Sophia's comment section, some mocked her for being betrayed. I sat at my computer sipping cold coffee. Seeing this, my scrolling finger paused. Sophia was very traditional, valued family, cared deeply about face. I never expected shed tear open her family's scandal for the world to see. The recent truths must have been too much for her. Shed rather smash everything. Looking at the computer's blue screen, a sudden idea struck. Using an old alternate account, I added Simon's account. At lunchtime, he didn't accept. Until one changed the verification message to "I know how to help you." He accepted the friend request. At this point, he was clearly frantic. Right after connecting, he asked how I could help, not even asking who I was. I didn't beat around the bush. Message directly, gather evidence. Report to the police, say Aunt Clara adopted you to exploit and violate you long-term. You must have proof, right? He hesitated, then replied back then he was young, didn't dare resist, had a shadow in his heart. So he was always threatened, violated. But doesn't that admit Anthony is his and Aunt Clara's child? I sighed, exasperated. Sophia has publicly posted the DNA test. With such hard evidence, he still wanted to hide. The DNA test is out. You can't hide anymore. Only by admitting Aunt Clara forced you. Do you become the victim? Shift the blame to her. Can you recover your account? He immediately asked. Sure. I replied, push all blame to Aunt Clara. You're the victim. Public opinion will shift. That was clear enough. I promptly deleted Simon and ditched the alternate account a few days later. No movement from Simon. The Golden City collaboration was nearing its end. My first practical experience. Under colleagues and seniors' guidance, I learned a lot. About 3 days later, Simon's account was unbanned. Immediately, he posted a police report and chat history about Aunt Clara imprisoning and violating him long-term. With evidence tracing back over a decade, the story went. Aunt Clara and her husband adopted Simon. Soon after, she secretly trained him behind her husband's back. Back then, Sophia was at boarding school, rarely home. Father Claire cheated outside, and Claire raised a machine at home. When Simon posted this, Aunt Clara had been taken for investigation, but unexpectedly, public opinion didn't shift as I told him, because his earlier defense was exposed as false. People no longer believed him, just saw it as drama to watch. That day, after finishing the last documents, heading downstairs, I saw a familiar black car parked outside the company building. Jasper leaned against it, lost in thought. As I approached, she looked up at me. Her eyes carried some fatigue. In truth, during the company's early days, she was the busiest. I pulled a bottle of milk from my bag bought at the store, handed it to her buddy. She shook her head lightly. No need, let's go. It'll take you home. Sure. Jasper drove silently. At a traffic light, she glanced at me through the rearview mirror. You did it, didn't you? Hearing this, she gave a satisfied smile. I leaned against the car window, my mind swirling with thoughts. One question I hadn't answered. Jasper, I can't figure it out. All these years, Sophia never noticed anything between Aunt Clara and Simon. Someone like her must suspected Anthony was her mother's child. Hearing my question, Jasper frowned slightly, silent for a moment, then said, Lucas, Sophia was gravely ill. Her malignant tumor's location has a high chance of recurrence, and childbirth is nearly impossible. In that case, a normal man who'd want to stay with her. Whether Anthony is her biological child or not doesn't matter, as long as he's hers in name. I nodded, enlightened. So that's how it was. I hadn't considered this. Jasper rubbed her temple. We started the car. This project's almost done. You did well. Get ready, join me on the next one. Thanks, President Jasper. The day the Golden City project ended, Simon's account was permanently banned for causing negative impact with his false defense and countless reports. At the same time, news of Aunt Clara's official arrest for long-term violation and child trafficking hit Ocean City's news. Only later did I learn that year, after I transferred 200,000 yuan to Sophia's account, and Clara and Simon got greedy. The Clare family wasn't wealthy. They feared if I knew Sophia was alive, I'd demand the 200,000 yuan back. So when Sophia woke up, they lied that I'd run away and faked her death notice to me, so I wouldn't find them, and the 200,000 yuan would stay with them. The day I learned the truth, I felt no special emotion. A 5-year deception, like pain from a past life. Now thinking back, it's just laughable. What trapped me for 5 years was their vile greed. New Year's Eve, and Clara's trial results were announced. She was sentenced to life in prison for long-term violation and child trafficking. Simon, after his account was banned, his mental state deteriorated, finally admitted to a psychiatric hospital. I heard the day before he was taken, he posted on social media a photo of limited edition shoes had bought. As for Sophia, she resigned, took Anthony, and left Ocean City. No one knew where she went. Before leaving, she sent me a message. I was strolling the night market with colleagues, holding a candied hawthorn stick. Opened the message. It read, Lucas, I hope in the next life meeting you, I have a healthy body, and hope you're still like 10 years ago. Smiling, holding my hand, I love you. I turned off my phone, biting into the hawthorn. The sweeter taste spread in my mouth. Ocean City's winter was still cold, but I just wanted to live this life well. New Year's Eve. To celebrate the Golden City project's success, Jasper booked an entire restaurant floor. Threw his celebratory feast for the company. Back when I was repaying debt, I got stomach ulcers. For health, I rarely drank. But today, I was truly happy. At the table, glass after glass. Until I couldn't drink more. I chatted with colleagues about project joys. Gossiped about company rumors. Laughed heartily. But laughing, my nose stung. Looking at the foamy brown liquor before me, my mind recalled 3 months ago. In the hot pot restaurant, eating ravenously, with just 1 yuan in my pocket. Back then, I couldn't believe my life would change so much in such a short time. The me crushed by Sophia's death and endless grievances could stand on a new path. Drunk out of my mind, I staggered out of the restaurant. Someone suddenly steadied me from behind. Turning, it was Jasper. President Jasper, thanks, wait. I'll call a driver to take you home. No need, I'll get a ride. Before I finished, I didn't see the stone ahead. Tripped, nearly fell. Jasper steadying me was pulled off balance. A wallet fell from her bag. Its contents scattered everywhere. A slightly old photo stood out among the bank cards. I bent to pick it up. It was a boy's bag, in a high school uniform. Hair faded from green to blonde. I recognized it was me in high school. I looked up tipsy, grinned at Jasper. Jasper, you hold a grudge. Just because I beat you once in high school. You kept my photo all this time. Jasper's eyes grew complex. Finally, as if amused by my drunken state, she smirked, scolding fondly, idiot. Don't you see? My heart was stolen by you long ago.